I've really kind of struggled with this. So I've put something together, and, well, here's to prayers that it'll be meaningful in some way. Okay, so totally off track, but Denisha, like, your flip-flops. Did y'all see the flip-flops? OMG. Like, I met her. I was like, oh, she's so nice. Cole was in Sunday school class. Although Emily and Richard, Cole thinks he's going to end up with y'all when he's 20. He said, I'm not going to be 20 and still. I said, well, you like them. They like you. It's good because he's in 7th grade, but I think he's been with y'all since he was, like, too young to be in the class and now too old to be in the class, but it's all good. And he said, oh, she's nice. I was like, oh, that's good. And then I was sitting over here waiting to talk, and she came up, and I was like, oh, but the flip-flops, like, that's the bomb. So anyway, welcome. I like the way you dress, so it's a good start. All right, so my testimony is about a bus. I kept thinking about what I was going to do, how I wanted this to work, and I kept thinking, it's a bus. That's my life. My life is a bus. Partly because there's lots of room on buses, and I need lots of room because I have lots of people. Ooh, I got to check this out. Oh, yes. So I said, Mary Miller, I want a bus, but I want a bedazzled bus for my picture. Somehow that fits the chaos of my life. You did very well. Thank you. And, but buses have lots of room, and buses are mobile. So that will make sense to you in just a minute about why a bus is important for my life. And then there's the struggle bus. Have y'all ever used that term? I use that term a lot. I find myself saying, ooh, on the struggle bus today. So I thought, well, yeah, there's the bus. And then don't throw me under the bus. Have y'all ever said that? Right? I've said that. Don't throw me under the bus, right? So I don't know. The bus thing just stuck in the weeks prior to this. So my bus got started in Maryland. I was born December 27th, 1970 in Aberdeen, Maryland, specifically the Aberdeen Proving Grounds, which when you tell people where you were born and you say Aberdeen Proving Grounds, I always think that makes me sound like a science experiment. I don't think I was. I think it was just that my dad was in the military, and that's where we were stationed. So that's where my bus started, and so I got a mom and a dad, and I got a little brother who was also born in Maryland, and then we lived there. So I guess, really, I hadn't thought about this till just this second. Wow, okay. So my first experience with church, I guess, was actually I went to a Catholic school, believe it or not, for kindergarten and first grade when we lived in Maryland. And so here's the funny thing. You'll notice that my life with church, my bus, and where it stopped in different church parking lots, has not been the same as I think those that have come before me. My parents were raised in church, and I think, in fact, if I have the story right, even met in church. They also went to high school together. But I was not raised in church. My parents never took me to church. I don't ever remember praying in the house. Now that I think about that, that's just kind of weird. But I didn't think about it at the time because, that was the only family I knew. And my parents believed in God. It wasn't that I grew up in a house where we didn't believe in God. And you could talk about God, but I don't know. The only thing I can think is since we were a military family and you tend to move, it's just, it takes time to become a member of a church, right? And so I think it's easy sometimes when you're mobile to maybe not make those connections. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think because they were very much raised in the church. And my grandparents and most of my aunts and uncles have stayed very active in the church. So I don't know. We just weren't. So there we go. All right. But I went to a Catholic school for a couple years. And then the military moved us to California, so here we are, East Coast. I really thought I'd thought ahead, Mary Miller. I wish we could have done like a little map of the United States, and you could have done like little with my bus, but I didn't think that far ahead, so sorry. So imagine now the bus, we're going over to Salinas, California, lettuce capital of the world, in case you didn't know. I lived in an area of California where every little small town connected, and you might be next to the artichoke capital of the world and the tomato capital of the world, but we were the lettuce capital of the world, so that's where we were. And stayed there till halfway through 7th grade. Well, why is that significant? So here's the deal. It's significant because middle school is tough. Moving in the middle of a school year is tough. So moving in the middle of a school year in middle school is not tough. Now, maybe made a little tougher by the fact that when I was in, let's see, so I guess I was probably, was I 6th grade? 5th grade, 6th grade, I'd have to go back and do the math. But a week after I turned 10, my mother died. So my mother had battled breast cancer, and she battled hard. And she had double mastectomy, and she lost her hair, and she battled really hard for a couple of years. And she had just turned 38, and she left a just turned 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. My brother was 7 at the time. And so that was my first pretty hard experience with life, saying, you know, things aren't always going to be fair, and they're not always going to be good, and they're not always going to make sense. So for anyone out there who's ever lost a parent as a young child, it is life-altering. And I don't know if my life is better or worse for that experience, but it is different. I know that. My life is different. And so lots of people who have since lost their moms as adults, it's different when you lose your mom as a kid. Number one, they weren't there for all those formative years or rites of passage. But you also don't know them. Like, I have snapshot memories of my mom, but I don't feel like I really know her essence. So for me to describe what my mom's personality is like is really just going to come from other people. So again, very life-altering. But during that time, I had a best friend, and I started going to an Episcopal church. So we've gone Catholic, now we're at the Episcopal church. But I really got involved with this church in Salinas, California, and ended up being baptized and confirmed in that church. Again, all on my own. My family was not involved with that. That was just something I did. And so there's my bus, okay. And then my dad remarries, and that's a whole other story. We don't even have time for that. So then my bus, we're going back to the East Coast. Now we're back in North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I was there through the end of my 7th grade year through 10th grade year. Nothing really there as far as my walk with God. Didn't go to church, didn't have any of those church experiences. And then, again, great time to move, right before my 11th grade year. So I got to spend my last 2 years of high school outside of Boston. So my little bus, the East Coast, and I spent a couple years outside of Boston. Again, didn't participate, didn't connect with any churches, but graduated from high school, Algonquin Regional High School, and I ended up in Texas. So little bus down to Texas. So I had I had in-state rates in Texas because that's where my dad, that was his home of residence. So so funny story, but this was like obviously a long time ago when I was in high school, but I was driving the family vehicle, and they were very serious about trash up in the Northeast. And so you would have stickers about where you were, so where you could put your trash. Like, so I had a sticker on the vehicle for, like, I don't know if it was like for the county or city we lived in. I don't know. Serious about trash. I got pulled over by the cops one night because I had Texas plates on my car, but I had a trash sticker. And I was like, oh, my dad's in the military. Oh, okay. So, but now I think back on that, I'm like, man, they were really serious about trash. Okay, so went to Texas. And that was neat. If I ever had to go back and do a time in my life, it would probably be college. Lots of fun. I got to be near all 4 of my grandparents, and they all 4 got to be at my college graduation. And I kind of got back in the God thing again. I worked at a Baptist church, Catholic, Episcopal, Baptist. I worked in their church nursery during college, and I joined a group called High Riders, which was kind of set up like a sorority, but it was service-oriented, and it was Christian-based. So that kind of like brought me back in the fold, so to speak. And then I graduated, went to North Carolina to do my graduate work in clinical psychology. So I was there for a couple years, and the mentor, they kind of paired you with a mentor, and my mentor took me to the Methodist church. Oh, here come the Methodists. So she took me to the Methodist church with her sometimes. So I did attend church sometimes in graduate school. Now, in the middle of all this, I really wanted to sing. So I started singing when I was in Texas. And then, well, when I was in graduate school, there was no time for anything but graduate school. But I really wanted to sing. So when people are like, how did you end up in Tennessee? Because my little bus drove over to Tennessee. Didn't have a single relative, friend, known associate, nothing. Didn't know nobody in this whole state. Drove a little U-Haul. Well, my bus pulled a little U-Haul. And because I wanted to be near Nashville and I wanted to sing. Then I very quickly figured out I would never make it in that business. Way too thin-skinned for that business. But I stayed because I came with a job because I had a master's degree, and so I started working for what was not Centerstone then, because Centerstone didn't exist, but has become Centerstone, and I've been with them for 27 years, and had different jobs, but get to that job in just a second. So moved to Tennessee, and actually started attending First Baptist. The Baptists are back. Okay, so the Baptists keep on. So I went to First Baptist, and to be honest, in a nutshell, I did not join the Baptist church because, this is just me, okay, so I could not join the Baptist church unless I got rebaptized because I had not been immersed. I had been sprinkled in the Episcopal church. And I totally respected their views, and that was great, but it wasn't great for me, and so I didn't join the Baptist church. And then there was Marnie and Ted Johnson, who had become friends of mine, and they said, hey, we got a church. Okay. So 19 years ago, I came to St. Luke. So I've been with y'all 19 years now. Like, somewhere between a third and a half of my life, I was figuring. Marnie and Ted, actually, you'll have to pass this on, and I've told Marnie this, they were very pivotal in my life. They brought me St. Luke, they brought me one of the greatest dogs I've ever had, Bo, and they brought me Jericho. Well, I was going to say I was just doing it in chronological order, but that's not really true because I think Bo came before St. Luke. But love you, mean it. Okay, so there was that, and so here I was. And you didn't have to be rebaptized because the Methodists love everybody, and they take everybody, and they said, you've been baptized? Great, bring it, sister. So I brought it, and here I am, and so there's that. So I've been here 19 years. I've been through 6 preachers. And I'll be honest, no offense, I'm not here for the preacher. I am not here for a preacher. And so it's hard for me sometimes because I know over the years sometimes people have left for different reasons, and I respect that, but I'm always very, very sad when families leave our church because I really feel like it's part of my family leaving. But I try to be supportive, even though it hurts me. But I've never been here for a particular preacher, and I don't think I ever will be. I'm not here for, and I thought about this, I thought, most people think of church as like Sunday morning, right? Worship. I'll be honest with y'all, and I don't mean this in any way disrespectful at all, but Sunday worship is really a very small piece of my Christianity. Like, to me, really, it's not. It's Faith Circle. It's my Sunday school class. It's the luau and stuffing balloons and sweatpants. It's planning yard sales. This is like my family. And so people can come and go from the pulpit, and some are great, and some are okay, and some are not so good, and some are wonderful pastors. Like, they give great pastoral care, and some are, they've each brought wonderful strengths that hopefully have left us stronger. But that's not why I'm here. Like, I'm here for y'all because you're my family, right? There have been a couple God moments in my life, and because I prattle, I'm not going to get to tell you them all now because I'm trying to keep to my time. But I will tell you one that is very relevant to this church. So y'all know I'm a kid person. Like, I get paid to work with kids. And I love kids. If you've ever been around me, you just know I love kids. And so back, I don't know, close to 10 years ago, I started getting this nudge. Now, I don't know if you've ever had nudges from God. And this is really the only time in my life I can really think it was like a persistent, very, very clear nudge. Pete Harlan was going to be stepping down as Sunday school teacher, and he had taught that class for, I think, about 40 years. And I was 40 years old. And they kept wanting someone to step into his place, and I was like, well, it's not me. I mean, I'm off the hook. No one's going to come asking me because I'm a kid person, and that's older adults, and I'm a kid person. And so I didn't say anything. I don't even know why I'm getting that nudge. And they kept nudging. It's like, I really don't know why you're nudging me because I'm a kid person, and I'm not going after Pete Harlan. I'm not going to go teach a Sunday school class for the first time after somebody else has taught it for 40 years. I don't think so. Kept nudging. I mean, would not let it go. And I finally said, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm going to teach the older adult Sunday school class. Never taught a Sunday school class. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm as old as he is been teaching this class. Like, I was born about the time he started teaching this class. But, you know, and I love my class. I see all my little class, even those that don't come now because of COVID and all the crazy. But I love my class. I love Betty Lucas. I do. And Shirley and Sandra. Miss Gladys. Where's Bill? Bill's in my class. And Odie and Brenda. And Miss Ellen. Right? And we've got Cecil. I mean, and really, the older you get, I think we kind of go back to being kids in some ways. Right? So maybe that's why I'm there. I don't know. But kids focus on what's important, and so do older adults. It's all of us in the middle that get sidetracked by things. But when you're young and when you're old, I think you just focus on what's important. Now, what's important then and what's important then may be different, but that's your focus. So, and I will say this as well in my bus, and I'll end with this. After my mom died, I had to find a way to make peace with that. So in my mind, I decided that God I think I was more of the thinking that everything happens for a reason, and which I hear a lot of people still say. And so I thought, well, maybe the reason was he was saving her from something worse. That's how I made peace with it. Like, I don't know what was going to happen in the rest of her life, and maybe there were things that he actually took her early because he was saving her from those things happening. I don't believe that anymore. You know, your philosophies and spirituality and all that hopefully grow and mature. And this may not be what other people think, but I will tell you that I don't believe everything happens for a reason. I don't believe that anymore. I believe that my mom had something in her body, whether that was from an environmental exposure to something in their genetics, but she got cancer. And that was it. It wasn't a God thing. Because my God would not make such a wonderful person suffer, and she suffered. And my God would not take the mother of 2 young children. My God wouldn't do that. My God wouldn't give my father, who has a PhD, who is a lieutenant colonel, who has run marathons and jumped out of airplanes, Parkinson's, which is killing him. And that's where I'll be next weekend. So my God doesn't do that. But what my God does do is he stays with me through it all. And there are 3 things I pray for, and I've done this for years. And I do pray for his will to be done, but sometimes I'm not going to like his will. And I know that. Because sometimes his will does not align with my wants. But I do believe he knows what I need. So I pray for guidance when decisions are tough. And I pray for strength when I'm just tired. And I pray for comfort when there's just really nothing else to ask for. So my relationship with God has definitely changed and has hopefully matured. So you won't hear me say everything happens for a reason. I think sometimes things just happen. I believe very strongly in free will, and that once things, the domino effect of human nature, God sometimes, as any good parent does, just has to stand by, even when he sees us making our world a train wreck. Because as parents, sometimes we have to do that, right? We watch our kids make decisions, and you're like, oh, good Lord. Literally, good Lord. Because you see their bus, and their bus is fixing to hit a brick wall, and sometimes you just got to stand back and let it happen. But what a good parent does is you're there. You're there to help them file a police report, and you're there to help them call the insurance company, and you're there to help them figure out how to do rent-a-cars, right? That's what a good parent does, not because we can always save them from crashes, but because we can be there to guide them and to strengthen them and comfort them. And so that's what my God does for me. And so I will close by saying that bus that you see up there, which is very representative of my life, as you can tell, there has never been a single day since December 27th, 1970, that God hasn't been driving that bus.